One day till Magic Round. How exciting. A little bit of a slower content week, obviously, compared to last week. So there'll just be the one video today, this one, and then we'll get out, obviously, the trades video tomorrow. Very excited to reveal those. Although, if you've been watching, you should know who I'm trading in and out already, unless anything changes across the week. So, in our questions today, we've got 4 of them. So, head-to-head, options and strategies, going to be in there as well. How many players targeting for round 13? We've got some questions around Hines and then ranking the priority of sells, which is going to be really fun to kick this off, and then we get into some teams as well. We got 9 of them today, so it should be a little bit longer video, and I hope that you get all of your strategy answers out of this one here. So let's talk about the first one. How many players should we target to play in round 13? So I've been speaking about this one for a few weeks now, and what we want to look at is something to do with mixing and spreading your players out between 13 and 14 to kick that first 2 off. I think you're going to do it in blocks of 2. Then you have 16 and 17, and then you have 19 and 20 that you need to worry about. So if you can spread it out where you can have close to 17 good players in round 14, that would be great. You know, maybe that's 15 good players you're happy with, and then 2 sort of cheapies that, you know, can get you a 25 to 35, something like that, on like a consistent basis. And then round 13 is probably going to be pretty similar. It might be 10 good players that you're really happy with, they're going to cover. And then it might be 2 to 3 kind of cheaper guys that can do a job. You know, at the moment we're sitting with guys like Ben Masila and obviously Couchman and stuff like that, and you know, potentially they play, potentially they don't. There are other cheapies as well that people are holding, whether that's Crossland that could get you like a 30 odd maybe, and the like there. So that's kind of where you're at. There are 10 good ones, and then 2 to 3. I think having 12 players I think is going to be fine. 12 players, 11 players, 13, somewhere there. Should be able to get you somewhere between that 15, 16, 17, 18 in round 14. And I think that's the best play. Especially if you're been loading up on trades, then I wouldn't be pushing for 13 in round 13 because you probably sacrifice a little bit of cash generation, a few points in round 14, a few points later on, and obviously your trades as well to get to that point. So sometimes it's just really not worth going all in for that round unless you've been holding a lot of trades. If you have been, then you can really push all the way through the buy period, and can be a great option for you and a good way to sort of catch up. But if you've been pushing hard, you've been getting some good points, you're ranking pretty solidly, then that would be the way to sort of hold rank or slightly improve over that time, as long as you have done a little bit of research. And I just popped out that simplistic buy planner myself as to the guys I'd be targeting for those sort of blocks of 13, 14, then, you know, guys that are going to play sort of majority of the games, but they may be missing 1 or 2 only through that sort of 8 rounds there. And that's going to be very helpful for you guys. And then there's obviously other guys that are popping out, you know, deeper buy planning spreadsheets if you want to go in further detail than what I threw out there in that video. So that's the general thoughts on that question mark here. Let's go to Ham's team here. So Hamish's squad, he's got Beware the Ham Curse. So little story, he started with Cotter, went to Tohu after he started pretty poor Cotter, and then Tohu got injured and he held him. Only get 3 scores under 50 for him before he got injured again, which is not good. Also picked up Brayley the week he did his knee, and then this week brought in Cheese as well, before he got crushed by Bunty. So that's that there. So it's a tough one here. I was also hit with some bad luck last week, trading out Ben Masila and having to play 16. So, yeah, not good. Let's just say that. All right, so he had, so many outs last week. All right, so anyway, somehow only dropped about 3K ranks for the sub 800 score. So he was sitting in the top 1,000, which was pretty good before that. Looking to make only 1 trade at the moment, considering I have 21 remaining before trades. Harley Smith Shields to Buller. Okay, so you're actually upgrading. I personally would go Thompson, to be honest, just to give you a bit of cash for next week, but I completely understand. Obviously, having Grant and House was the reason why he went so poorly last week. Having them back in is going to be good. What that's going to mean is that I'm assuming you'll play Buller then. You'll be playing Alamotti as well. Couchman will come out. I'd be trading out one of those other guys rather than Smith Shields. I understand why, like you're hoping that one of those guys come back, and if you've got a bit of cash in the bank, that is going to be fine, man. But other than that, you're hoping for big scores from like Panasini and these types of guys here, and just very much welcoming back Grant and Haas in this one. So I hope that things improve for you, Ham, and I'll jump in the DMs and have a chat with you anyway. So moral of his story, ask me for my trades before the first game of the round, and don't trade whoever I bring in. Go the Mighty Rabbits. It does happen sometimes. You have those years where everything just doesn't go right, unfortunately, and this sounds like it's been a little bit like that across the start of the season for him, but it will improve, mate. There's a long way to go and you'll be okay. Let's go to the second one here. And Tubbsy Maloney. Quite a few that need to be traded out in this team. Just need to work out how and when. So trade options, you got Murray, Burton, Warbrick. Potentially a 3 trade option of Murray to Hopgood, Burton to Hines, Warbrick to Buller. Leaves 53k. Wow. That's amazing. I think there's too many halves and wing fullbacks if I went this way. So if that was the play, obviously having Hammer, Teddy, Walsh at the moment removes Warbrick. You've got Cam Pereira still as well. Yeah, okay. I completely understand that. You've got Katoa and Nikorima. If you did go that way, obviously Burton comes in. Yes, you have the extra halves. Tanner Boyd just pretend he's a hooker. But I think one of those guys you're going to trade out next week anyway, Katoa and Nikorima. Your mids position is looking solid now that you bring in Hopgood. Means you're completely fine in that position. You've got the cover with Preston for that edge position. Lemuelu you've got as that extra centre. So yeah, I can understand why you feel like you may have slightly too many. Don't have Miller on there, which is here or there. But yeah, I think that those trades are really, really good. There's an option, so that's if you want to do that, that's fine. Murray to Horsburgh, Warbrick to Buller, Hammer to Hines. Yeah, like that's amazing as well. So if only we all had those good options. And that's why having 200k in the bank works sometimes. You can make these big moves. I think I left 300k in the bank one of those weeks, and that allowed me to do 2 hectic trades, and that was great. So that's it works out really well. It's hard to get the cutting edge insights in England, so this is my main channel of info. Oh, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate you watching this one. Good man. And yeah, sitting okay. Obviously, 17,000. The team's looking pretty solid after those trades, and I think you make a good push from this week. And the 3 trades gets you down to 18, and I think that's completely fine. So good stuff. Yeah, obviously getting the balance right after this would be great. Lock that in, Tubbsy. All right, let's move to our next question before we get to that fun meme. Number 2, is Hines worth bringing into your team, even if it means you'll find it really tough to field a full 13 by round 13? I thought this was really good to have after that first question, because it kind of shows that maybe around that 11 or 12 could be good for your team if that means that you get good output of points over this next bunch of weeks. And just think, guys, if Hines does play Origin, he actually plays 5 of the next 6 games. So he'd play the next 3, he would miss 13, he would play 14 and 15, which I think is just gold. And yes, there's the thought of him playing Origin, but even if he does, man, 5 of the next 6 for someone who's going to be scoring the best in the game. There's also talk at the moment that the Cleary probably is still a chance of not kicking this week. So, like goals, I mean, and that's just so tough. And if you have traded out Haas or you don't have Grant like myself, then I feel like you either need to have one of those guys. Like Hines would be the play, obviously, that he can score the best. Obviously, Cleary could come out and do really well, but it's just been, apart from a couple of weeks there, it's just been an on and off kind of season for Cleary, and Hines has been the gun all over the year. So that's that. For example, here you might not be able to fit a Reece Robson in your team, but then if you bring Hines now, this is assuming Hines does get selected for Origin, of course. Yeah, for sure. And the thing I'm probably playing, guys, depending how the next 3 weeks go, I'll definitely be moving on from one of my halves, and it's likely going to be Cleary, depending how Hines goes and if he's injured, or if there's injuries to any of my other guys. SJ, I've got Brown as well. I'll be moving on from Katoa maybe next week as a bit of a cycling a cash cow there. So I think it's completely fine if it stuffs you up and is going to leave you like with 10 or 11 compared to like getting a full 13. Then it might be something that you have a look at. But I think you can sell one of those Origin guys that you may have in round 13 for a Robson, or in round 12, or whatever you need to do to get to that point. Just be aware, guys, that you probably, by the end of the Origin period, you probably, like, end around 20 or by round 20, you probably want to have about 4 trades left. And then you get the 8 extra. So you'll have 12 left for the last sort of 8 rounds, 7 rounds. So I think that's plenty. Most people will get to the last sort of 5, 6 rounds and they have about 4 trades at best. Sometimes, people get to the last 3 rounds and they have none. Like, they've completely cashed out of trades. So, look, if you're sitting there with 20 now, you make 3 this week, you're down to 17. If you use 14 over the next, how many rounds is that? 10 rounds? Yeah, 10 rounds or so. Like, you're in a solid position. If you end up having 2 at the end of round 20, then, that's an extra couple of trades you can use now, and you still have 10 for the last 8 rounds, and that's probably fine. Like, if you did run out of trades by the end of round 20, when you get the 8, you're probably still going to be fine. So, if you've scored really well and you've done great over that time, and then you get to that point and you are fairly close to, getting to your final 17 or 18 anyway, then making 1 trade a week, or some weeks making 2, some weeks making 0, I think that's completely fine. So that's that. Let's go to the rankings next after we get through this team. We got making sensible trades to set up my team for Origin, and me looking back at Nicho Hynes, the great man. So I completely agree. That's where I'm at the moment. And I just think, you know, you can get to your round 13 team in round 12 and 11, 12 and 13 easily. One combination he drew up: Murray, Couchman, Crossland, JDB, or Horsburgh. Probably Hors, just given he's a little bit cheaper. Drinky and Lukey. Whew, getting double Cowboy in there. It's going to be a fun one. Sitting there with obviously Miller this week, you would need a wing fullback. Cool. That works. So Drinky comes in for that. Yep, makes complete sense. You need a wing fullback. Lock him in. You're getting a solid guy up top. Obviously, Murray down. You've got plenty of gun mids in that position. Something I'd be looking at, mate, is just getting your interchange and emergency sorted. Obviously, Lioro and Grant will come into either interchange or the starting position, which is good. And then having Preston in there and Boyd, yeah, it's actually not too bad, to be honest. But you're playing Alamotti. That's something I'd look to improve, which isn't going to happen this week. So that's something I'd look at for sure. Obviously, having no Lemuelu is a little bit of a tough one. I know what you do there. Yeah, obviously, you're getting rid of Couchman and Crossland. Fixing that up is going to be good. So I think this week it works out well. Had a disaster last week. Sticking with Alamotti was the wrong choice anyway. Yep, got to move on from that. That will happen soon. It looks like, not now. Thinking this week I need to get 3 players for the bye period. I'm going to have to move Murray on for that. That's fine. Immediately need a weak fullback. Yep. Unfortunately, breaking the bank for Nicho now totally screws up my roadmap for the bye period. I can't do it. Must look away. Yeah, a few boys were talking about hiding behind the couch during Sharks games or just avoiding looking at the scores or whatever. But yeah, it's one of those things at the moment. Then we need a hooker, Robson. I don't think you need a hooker, man. You've got plenty. You've got Smith and Boyd. Yes, if you don't have a round 13 hooker, that's annoying, but really you don't have to do that. Like, you don't have to trade Boyd. I think you really need to keep Boyd, if I'm being honest. Penasini or Hammer or Lem from Preston, and a third wing fullback, maybe Hammer or Cheapy. Yeah, maybe next week, man. Like, yeah, you can do it now if you want, but then you can't get, what, Lukey? I know you have to go down to Horsburgh up to like a 500 something K guy. Maybe that's a Lem. But yeah, that's the general thoughts on that squad. Let's move to number 4. And this one here, coming 7,000 overall. Hey, Jamie, first time uploading my team to you. Thank you for doing that. 105 in the bank, 19 trades remaining. Overall, pretty happy with my team. Hope you are too. Well, let's have a look. We got Haas, Madison, DeBellin. That's a lovely mid-section there. We've got Grant up top, which is beautiful. Cleary, Johnson, awesome. Preston, Hosking doing their job. Bench, I'll look at straight away, and it looks okay at best. So Smith, Ford, Miller. That's good. Obviously, Manu, Tedesco, Buller down there, Lemuelu, Bird. So overall, team structure is good, man. And yeah, it's just making those slight adjustments here on here. Potential trades this week: Alamotti to Lukey. That would be a good upgrade. Hold the other 2 trades that I've traded pretty heavily so far. Yeah, so down to 18. That would be predominantly a head-to-head player. So with that in mind, second option is Johnson plus Alamotti, Hynes, and Oloapu. Ooh, that's cheeky. Yeah, I think so. That works. Yeah, head-to-head, it's very different, guys. We'll speak about that in a second. Katoa to Totola next round is something I'm definitely looking at as well. I know Oloapu's on the bench, just limited with money to make the Hynes trade. What is your thoughts? I think Oloapu will definitely get into the squad in the starting side at some point, so I think that's fine. Yeah, Hynes for you as a head-to-head guy is a must, I think, and Johnson has made a lot of money. I doubt he gets somewhere around that 60 average. I think he's more a 55 to 53 guy, and Hynes is a 70-plus guy. So, yeah, lock that in. Keep Miller then, because he's, potential for him to be a wing fullback gun. And, Hosking, again, could be one of those 55-point guys, but he's had a couple of low ones. Preston, probably worth holding as well. And Alamotti's a time to move on. 40, up to you. I probably have the next bunch of weeks. You can look to trade him out as well. And move on to some greener pastures, whereas the guys like Lemuelu and Bird, potentially are keepers in that position. Cleary and Hynes, you'd have keepers now. Madison, JDB, and Haas probably are as well, along with Grant, Manu, Tedesco. So he's sitting pretty good overall, man. Just slowly churning over those cash cows and getting to those guns is going to be the best way to go about it. Beautiful. All right, let's get back to the questions. Rank the priority of sells between Alamotti, Crossland, Preston, Couchman, Sloan, Hammer, and Khan Pereira. So I personally think guys like, I actually think Crossland's fairly close to number 1, but I would say Couchman is number 1 on that list. He had 1 good game, and the 3 since then, he's been given opportunities, and yes, he scored a try on the weekend, but it could have been really, really bad. So I doubt he gets back into the spot soon. if you're looking at potential round 13 holds, then he could be a guy that does play in round 13 if there are injuries to that squad, but he also may not. So I think a mixture between Khan Pereira, Couchman, Alamotti, and Crossland are the clear ones to go for as a trade out first. Crossland does play round 13, so I'd probably say Alamotti could be the sell before him. But hopefully, if you are holding Alamotti, that Bulldogs tend to play a little bit better over the next month, and then he would be, he'll be helpful. But he's the one that's losing a little bit of cash at the moment, so I can understand why you'd moved him on first. So those 4 are the guys that we're looking to trade out first, and then mixing between. I feel like Sloan is probably a hold this week. I think he can score pretty well. He's a round 13 number as well. That of Hammer, I think Hammer is probably almost a sell before Sloan, just because he hasn't been playing too well. They have the Sharks this week. I can see him losing more cash, whereas I see Sloan being able to score a 40 plus this week. Hammer might be like a 30 odd for him at best. So I think Hammer just over Sloan this week, given he has the bye next week as well, whereas Sloan, you get him through the next period and potentially has a little bit of money to make if he gets back to some good scores this week and next. And really, he's only had 3 low scores, which is annoying for non-owners. But yeah, if you're thinking that, that's the way to play it. And then Sloan would be next after Hammer, which is weird to say. And then I would say Preston last. Preston's an interesting one. I think if you have to use that money, and I think him just over Hosking first as a trade out. People are like, oh, well, he plays 2 of the big major buy rounds, and that's helpful. But like his Hosking plays, he misses 13 and 19. That means he plays 14, 16, 17. Okay, which is really, really helpful. Whereas Preston's going to miss 13. He's going to play 14 and 16, but then miss 17. So you get that extra game out of Hosking, and you probably move Hosking on by 19 anyway. So that's where I see that as being the better hold. Preston, I think, can still hit a 50 average, guys. So really, he's not an urgent sell. If you're sideways trading him to like a Horsburgh or something like that, I don't think you do that. If you need cash to go down, I'm going him to Lukey, it looks like. I'm not overly thrilled about it. If Lukey does really well and he doesn't get injured, then it's going to work out great. But there's a chance that he doesn't. And Preston having the HIA concern last week obviously dropped his points. He had a sin bin a couple of weeks ago. He got a rest a few weeks ago. So there's a lot happening over his last sort of month, and he can get back to that 50-point scoring easily. Or he's worth a trade out, and he's got the higher break even, and you move him on. So that's that there. Let's move to number 5, Troll Mitt Brother. Had a terrible week last week with only scoring 760. My goodness, that means you are holding the Great Grant, the Haas, and Nomado. Okay, Nomado. But anyway, Miller Teddy Walsh is sitting down there, and that's something we need to have a look at for sure. All right, trade 1, Alamotti to Buller. Preston to Lukey, Murray to Hines. That would be okay. You'd play Buller. It's exact trades for me. Of course it's okay. Someone's been following, hey. McInnes to DeBellin, Alamotti to Buller, Preston to Robson. Nope. Don't like number 2. Trade 3, Alamotti to Buller, Preston to Horsburgh, McInnes to DeBellin. Don't like number 3. So number 1's the play, really. You got Cleary, Johnson, Tanner's your hooker cover. I wouldn't worry about Robson now. Like, you can really wait on him. He hasn't been scoring very well at all. You do want to look at your emergencies and interchange, man. Alamotti obviously coming out would be helpful. You got Host, Granville, Murdoch, Masila, and Couchman. To be honest, rather than going for Hines, I would look to trade Murray down to like a Horsburgh or something like that, which would work. Beautiful. Slot him in the mids. And then you can go Buller if you like. That works. And I would hold Preston. And I would go up from one of these cheapies. So Couchman, Murdoch, Masila. Either of them work. Granville. Probably hold Granville now. Couchman or Murdoch, Masila to Lukey. And I think that really improves your emergencies and interchanges rather than going for Hines. This is a team where I'd probably avoid it just because you haven't got the best cash generation and the like there. That I think that you've got Tanner, who's great, that can cover hooker and half at the moment. And you don't need that other half. So I don't think he's a must-have for you, especially. This is a situation where I would improve your emergencies rather than going for Heinze in this one. Okay, this is an interesting one. This is going to tie in with our next question, but more focus on head-to-head. Options are Preston, Ford, Murray, Madison, Khaleesi Haas, Hines. Ugh, don't really like that. Preston, Ford, Murray, Hopgood, Williams. Yeah, people asked about Jack Williams. I just don't see it as an option. They get Finucane back, who's going to be a bigger minute guy. McInnes minutes won't change too much. So I think Jack Williams and his minutes kind of sit around that 30, which is not enough, to be honest. Murray, Preston, Selle, Hines, Cheapy, Horsburgh. I think that would be fine. If you're going Cheapy, then Oluwapu's your man. I'm just looking at your interchange emergencies there. You've got Couchman, Host, Selle, and Buller. So there's a lot of cheapies there, which, yeah, it is what it is. But you're getting another cheapie into that wouldn't be super good. Obviously, selling one of Selle. I think Selle is probably a hold, to be honest, for now. Murray and Preston to Hines and Ram for Talamarina. It's okay, man. But to be honest, as a head-to-head player, it's probably worth holding Murray. Really, like for an overall guy, he's going to miss a lot of games. For a head-to-head guy, he's not going to miss a heap. So, yeah, there's a lot of thought there to try and hold on to him. I completely understand that. And you're sitting there with no Joey Manu. So, for you, I would say Joey Manu is the most important player to go to. And whether that is Murray to Horsburgh, if you want to do that, and then you need to upgrade one of your cheaper guys to a Manu, I think is the play in this one. You have Buller in the team already, which is cool. But yeah, Manu is the play in that one. And then you could move, one of these centers, or you could trade out Hammer. Like, I don't think Hammer for you is probably one of those guys where you move on. Walsh is someone that you could hold potentially for the year. I think Hammer is one of those guys that you could use to get to Joey Manu, who's going to be a keeper for the entirety of the year. So I'd be looking at stuff like that rather than those other moves, to be honest with you, because you're looking to get keepers into your side. Murray, trading him out, he is a keeper. Look, it might be a version in a world where you trade him out now and you bring him back at the end, but I still think Manu is going to be your play. So let's talk about head-to-head options there in that question in number 4. So best head-to-head options in the strategy. So biggest thing here is just cash generation still, and then you want to be bringing in guns as soon as possible. Like that situation there where Manu, he's just such a clear guy that you need to get in your squad because he's a gun in the center or the wing fullback position. Just a must-have. So that's the play. Holding on to potential Origin guys is going to be the best thing for you. You don't play head-to-head games in those bye rounds of 13, 16, and 19. So getting Hines in your squad is going to be important. Keeping Cleary, potentially keeping Murray, keeping Payne Haas for the entirety of the season, keeping Harry Grant. Like, these guys are the best scorers in their position. They need to be in your side as quick as possible. And then you are looking to get some of those slightly fallen guns, like the Isaiah Papali'is who have lost a little bit, that can come into your squad and do great things. You probably aren't holding Hammer long term because he's not going to be a complete gun at the end of the season. The wing fullback position is tough, but guys like Teddy, who are going to be one of those guys by the end of the season, they're the players that you're looking at to score well in your team every week. Maybe that doesn't mean you have them now, but it means you're working towards those type of players. So the half position is pretty easy. Center position at the moment, it's a mixture of Bird and Manu as the two best, and then Lemuelu is the other guy at the moment. Obviously Campbell Graham and Val Holmes and these types of guys are going to do great as well. So that's where you need to be looking at. The edge position, Dave Fafita is a must-have for any head-to-head player. So those are the guys you look at, and that's the strategy for you. You're only using trades to get those guys into your squad and downgrade a mid-range guy that you think is not going to become a keeper or is done making money to a cheaper guy. And, Buller's a good downgrade this week. Hylam Lukey is a good cycle of cash. Tavita Totola in the next couple of weeks is going to be a good cycle of cash for you. Yes, they're good guys for the Origin period as well, but you're looking to make money. And those guys, once they bottom out, like Lukey is already low and has a low break even, Totola is going to go down that little bit further. Drinky, potentially could make you some cash as well. Those type of players there are going to do a job for you. Oluwapu might be a decent cash down. Like, they're the questions that you need to ask yourself. Like, can they fit into your side? Are they going to work for me to be able to do things right and do really well in my head-to-heads and get to that guns 18 by the end of the year? That's your general theory and where you should be heading in this one. All right. This doesn't look as good for writing, but thank you for putting this together. Overall thought in the team, struggling to make up mine each week on who to get and what to do. Sitting at 2,495 overall, which is good. Trade, sinking Blore to Buller would leave me with 106k. I like that. Is there a way I could get Hines? If not, who else could I bring in? So you're sitting there with the 2-gun halves. So you're not overloaded, like my team, but I'm still getting him. What to do with Couchman? Thought he would do well and not break my heart like the Dragons do each week. Oh, Dragons supporter too. Tough times. Is Cleary good captain or is Haas better option? I think either way is going to be fine. Cleary surely should just be getting a little bit better each and every week. Maybe not. There's still a chance he doesn't goal kick this week, which is frustrating. Is BMM or Talau a better playing option with Katoa being looped? Ugh, yuck. Maybe Talau just because he's starting, but yeah, it's not great to be honest with you. I think they played Dragons this week, so he could score a try. But yeah, not super excited about him. Could Moses or Brown be a buy if I can't get Hines, or does cover in other positions take priority? So your wing fullbacks, if you bring in Buller, you can play him, which is good. Again, one of those interchange emergencies. You've got Talau, Katoa, Couchman, Blore, and Murdoch-Masila. I think you need to improve that a little bit. So maybe you go down to Buller and then you go up to a Lukey just to improve that position. Or you try and go to like a Moses or Brown or something like that. If you do want to trade Murray, I can understand that. But yeah, that's probably the way I'd be looking at it. Probably Lukey, or you go, yeah, Murray down to Horsburgh, and then you can upgrade one of those real cheap duds like a Couchman to another 600 and something K guy. That could work. I think that's a fair play. If you wanted to do that, then maybe a good edge, or you don't have Hosking, so maybe another good edge could be cool, considering you have only them. Oh, you got forward as the cover. So yeah, up to you on that one. I think that's probably the way. Hines, not a clear must-have. Moses or Brown. Maybe you do bring in Brown as that guy. So you upgrade Couchman to Brown if you want to get another half. That completely works, and he's good for Origin cover as well. And thanks for getting all the videos out. You're doing great, good work, mate. Keep it up. Thank you very much on that one. Let's go. 2 more to play. So let's go to number 8. Right, we move to I'm Dewey something, and unfortunately I haven't been able to have him in your team all year, which just sucks. Lost about 1,300 ranks this week, holding a few of those guys. Obviously Grant being one of them, not doing too well apart from that. That sucks. Hey Jamie, hope you're doing well. I'm great, thank you. Love the content and effort to create these videos. Thank you very much. Been feeling with my side and not sure on where to go next. Hope you can help. I sure can. My trades this week, thoughts. Outs, McInnes, Murray, Thompson. I imagine that's Isaac. Yep, cool. Trade ins, Hines, Lukey, Buller. Ugh, that's so simple. So simple. I am worried about, I think you're in a similar situation to me. You only have Smith as your third mid. I don't really like that, and that's why I'm avoiding trading McInnes this week. I'm just going to hold on to him, I think, and trade Preston instead. So that's something you can look at if you want. I understand why you want to go McInnes, and I agree. I want to go McInnes as well, but unfortunately, if Smith is out, you are cooked, and I can't run that risk personally. So that's why I'm looking to do that. He's got Mini Jamie in the corner. Thank you. That's cute. Doing the team list. Thank you. Trading targets next few weeks. Harris, Madison, Hopgood, Drinky. Yeah, obviously you do need another mid. So yeah, maybe that's the play this week. You go Preston out instead of McInnes, and then you could look to trade McInnes to one of those guys next week. I think would be the play. So we just don't know with Smithy what's going to happen with him, unfortunately. So that's that one. And then last one, guys, we go to number 9, JBFA Superstorm. Absolutely killing it. What a round, last round. 17th overall last week and 97th overall for the entirety of the year. So a massive one with Lemuelu, Moses in there, Hines as captain, DeBellin, and even held on to Grant through that. So incredible. That means you get like 1,040 or something, which is crazy. First of all, thanks, Jamie, for churning out all the content each week. I always watch it, and it's very much appreciated and has helped massively this season. Thank you very much, and you're absolutely smashing it, so well done. Potential trades, Talau to Buller, AKP to Drinky, Murray to Horse. If I get rid of Couchman instead of Talau, I can get AFB Hopgood for Murray instead of Horse. If you want Hopgood, I think that's cool. I would avoid AFB. You could also just go to Horse and then keep cash in the bank, because Talau's going to be that centre wing fullback cover, and if he continues to keep that centre spot, then maybe some weeks if you need it, then you can get get like a 25 or 30 out of him, maybe if you need it, or you can loop him each week, whatever you want to do. I would do that and leave the cash in the bank, because you never know what's going to happen next week, and you might need that 100 or 1,000 to do that. So you're looking at guys like Robson, Lukey, Totola next week. Maybe with that cash in the bank, you can then go for one of your other cheapy guys like a Sonny Luke up to a Lukey or Totola next week, and in just one trade, and that could be really cool. So that's how I would look at it instead. Concerns, the targets, Horse, Hop, Maddo played Origin, Ricky Roulette with Horse, having both Buller and Talau, Lukey and Totola re-injury for sure. If you're not gonna grab Lukey this week, then I think you just that's fine. You wait and see what happens next week. That'll work. Positions I need for round 13: 1 hooker, yes. 1 mid unless I play Couch, 2 edge unless I play Couch, 1 half expecting Nicker to be gone by then, and 1 wing fullback thinking Drinky this week. Cool. So you'll add Drinky to the squad and Buller, which is cool. You have plenty of wing fullbacks and centers, so maybe you just play Buller this week and you don't go Drinky and you go. Actually, that's an interesting one. If you go, for Couchman to Buller instead, you can go AKP up to sort of anyone in the 600s as well if you want. So that's something to think about if you want to do that rather than go for Drinky and you can just play Buller this week. Up to you on that one. I think that will be the way to go. So yeah, thank you very much everyone for checking into this video. Obviously a nice fun one. All the questions answered, plenty of strategy and analysis. If you're not watching this one, I think this is probably one of the most important ones to watch, just because you get, I think anyway, you get all my buy, hold, sell recommendations in squads. You get the strategy, you get the further thinking. So tell your friends to watch this one. I think it's the better one to watch each and every week. So good luck this week. You'll get my trades video tomorrow, the draft stars video also, and enjoy Magic Round.